Here is my top 10 list on what I like about sewing in no particular order. Number 1, it takes you away from the screen. If you're like me, you work from home, I sit in front of the screen all day. I spend hours on my tablet, on my laptop, watching TV, and that's really bad for your eyes. It can also cause sleep problems, neck problems, back problems, and all sorts of other problems, carpal tunnel syndrome. So I find that sewing is the perfect hobby to get me away from the screen, and it's really helped divert my attention. Number 2, it's a workout. I'm forever walking around my table, stretching to cut patterns, trying on outfits, making sure they fit. There's a lot of physical activity that's involved in sewing that you don't realize, including cutting the scissors and using your sewing machine. It all takes a bit of an effort. Number 3, you can sew for charity. Suppose you've always wanted to make little girl clothes. Well, did you know there's a charity called Project Dress a Girl? In fact, I found out about this a couple of weeks ago, and I've sewed several dresses for these little girls. So not only does this involve my new hobby, it gives me something useful to do for others. Number 4, you are not participating in fast fashion. Fast fashion uses cheap materials, dare I say synthetic, which pollutes the environment, and it also involves labor that might not be paid that well. For instance, have you ever thought about the garments you wear from fast fashion sites are sewn by people by hand? There is somebody behind that sewing machine pressing the presser foot to make those garments for you. Think about how much they're paid and how much they are taken advantage of in this process. Number 5, you can make nice things that fit even if you're a plus size or even if you go between sizes. My sizes range from XL to XXL to I'm size 22, 18, 24. My top is bigger than my bottom, so I've had a real challenging time finding garments that fit, especially if I want some higher quality garments, which tend to run in the small sizes. So I found that sewing something between sizes or picking out a pattern that actually fits me and choosing the fabrics that I like this satin trench coat I'm making right now, really helps me get what I want for a change, and I deserve it too. Number 6, sewing is affordable if you make the right choices. Now, some people might say that sewing actually costs more than buying the actual garment. Let's go back to that sustainability issue there. Sure, if you buy cheap fabric from outsourced labor, it can be really cheap, and sewing can seem expensive. But actually, it's not. You can find fabric on sale for $5.99 a yard. It takes a couple of yards to make a shirt and maybe 4 or 5 to make a dress, depending on what size you are. Also, you can thrift garments from thrift stores and make a compilation out of those garments into something new. You can find bundle offers or end of the bowl offers or mystery box offers. There are so many ways to find discounts on fabric. It really isn't as expensive as you think it is. Number 7, you can be part of a sewing community. I had no idea how many sewers I would run into once I started sewing. You know how you buy a blue car and then suddenly everybody drives a blue car? Sewing is just like that. My neighbor sews. The person I met at the dog park sews. My grocery store companion sews. There are so many people within my own neighborhood that love to sew and talk about it. Also, it is unbelievable how many people online love to sew. For instance, there's a hashtag Friday Sews that many people use to get together to in a community of sewers. There are plenty of people interested in community. It's not just being a YouTube star, it's more about community with the sewers I've run into. They don't care so much about beating that algorithm or having something important to say. They just care about bonding and sharing sewing experiences with each other. So for me, who stays at home a lot, I really like the idea of the community that I found in this sewers group. And speaking of somebody who doesn't leave the house much, I actually find this as a benefit of my new sewing hobby too. Now, I suppose leaving the house would be good, but when you're chained to a desk for 8 hours a day, you don't really want to go much out at night or early in the morning. I can come down and sew in my pajamas at midnight, or I can do it early in the morning. I can do it whenever I want, however I want, and dressed like whatever I want. So I find it's a really good hobby for people who don't really have a lot of time on their hands. Number 9, sewing has really spurred my creativity. And they say creativity, getting your brain going and problem solving really is a good way to fight off aging. It really, in the beginning, I had to puzzle through these patterns that I didn't understand. I still have trouble with that, but you get yourself thinking and you take a break and you don't think you can do it, but then you power through and you can do it and you can actually make a garment that you can wear. And my sewing skills have improved so much that I can play with color and choose different fabric and see which goes together and which doesn't. It's really someone who really likes to be creative. I've really found my outlet. I thought about trying painting at one point, and gosh, that hobby is so messy. I started painting my house, and that was a little too intensive for me because you have to climb up and down ladders. Sewing is the right medium. It's not like, I tried cooking, but you have to stay over the stove or stay in the kitchen until your food is done. So sewing is a really good blend of being able to start a project and stop if you don't have enough time, or like I said, do it whenever you want. And it's just a great outlet for my creativity. The 10th and last reason I like sewing is because there are so many tutorials online. So not only do you have the pattern instructions, you have so many people willing to show you how to work through the patterns. There's so many sew-alongs. There's really good groups that just really want to help you. And I think that I love this part, the tutorials and the, Professor Pin cushions and my bucolic lives that really help us who don't know how to sew begin to sew. So I'm invested in this new hobby, and I hope I inspired you to be invested in it too. It really doesn't cost that much, and if you're interested, I'll run through the main equipment that I think you need, but I'd really consider starting this hobby if you are like me. Thanks a lot. See you later.